Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed Lee. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, pollen-filled neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Amazon Music, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Audible, Player FM. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We have a great show lined up for you today. If you're looking for some books for your kids to read over the summer, you've tuned into the right show. Leanne Borders and Lorian Hunter are here from Bookalicious, telling you all about some great summer reads and also about their great service. And later in the show, Cody Burke will be here to celebrate Take Me Back to Oklahoma. Imagine a time before time, when light first touched the world and the animals roamed wild and free. The Day Time Began is a breathtaking picture book that retells the biblical story of creation with vibrant rhyme and rich full-page illustrations. Perfect for ages 2 to 8, this keepsake book features over 160 realistic animals and an online animal ID guide so kids can learn as they explore. With bonus classroom resources and an acted-out story motions online, this book is a gift that brings the beauty of God's creation to life. Give your child a story that stirs up hope in a good and gracious God. The Day Time Began. Available now at thedaytimebegan.com. We are in for a treat. We are celebrating reading and celebrating how important it is to read over the summer. We have two wonderful guests on from Bookalicious. First up, the driving force behind Bookalicious, Leanne Borders. Hey, Leanne, how are you?
Hey, Jed, I'm well. How are you?
Great. We had such a great time speaking a few weeks ago. It was exciting that you wanted to come back on and talk about the importance of summer reading.
Yes, we are very excited to talk about that. What would you like me to tell you? I can share all sorts of interesting factoids about why it's important to read over the summer.
Well, before we jump into that, let me welcome our other guest. She is one of the curators at Bookalicious, or perhaps she is the curator. We'll find out in a minute. Please welcome to the show, Lorian Hunter. Hey, Lorian, how are you?
Hey, Jed, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Now, the last time I spoke to Leanne, I told her about a great book that we had just celebrated on the show, an author and illustrator. She said she was going to bring it to your attention. Did she do it in a nice way or an annoying way? I hope I don't have to apologize to you.
Leanne is always nice.
That's the right answer, Lauren.
Yes.
Leanne, spoken like a true titan of industry. So let's jump into it, Leanne. Why is it so important for kids to read over the summer?
Well, I think you have to start with the fact that for parents, it's key to know that books in the home are one of the strongest predictors of academic success. So that's kind of the baseline. And of course, I think there's few of us that would disagree with the statement that one of the best ways to get better at something is to practice. And, of course, that includes reading. It's particularly important over the summer, especially for younger kids that are still learning how to read. And that's because of something that's called the summer slide. Have you heard that term before?
I certainly have. My beautiful wife taught for 34 years in the Boston Public School System. And so she absolutely talked about that in reference to her kids and to make sure our kids didn't have any summer slide. We would hit the bookstores every April and May and start loading up with workbooks that were reminding them what they learned in the last grade and prepping them for what they were going to be learning in the new grade, along with the graphic novels and other books that we would buy for them to read over the summer.
All the cool fun books for summer, right?
Absolutely.
And for those of you who don't know what the summer slide refers to, it's a term that educators use, researchers use it, and it refers to the fact that when kids are on summer vacation, if they don't engage in any learning, they can lose as much as 20% of the skills that they acquired during the previous school year. And that puts them at a really big disadvantage compared with their peers when they go back to school in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
The good news, as you and your wife obviously knew or know, is that there are studies that have found that the summer slide can be countered if kids read as few as 5 books over the summer. And so that's what we're here to talk about, including some great book recommendations to keep your kids occupied during those summer months.
Yeah, one of the interesting statistics that I've run into doing reading with your kids is what you brought up earlier about having books in the home. I've read that having as few as 20 books in the home dramatically increases the chances of your kids being able to attend university.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And that seems like a pretty small number, right, to have that kind of an impact.
If we only had 20, there have been more books come in and out of this house than I could even imagine coming up with a number. It's, we love books and we love, that we're able to share and we're in a position that we could bring books into our home. One of the things that kind of comes to mind is if we're experiencing this summer slide, because we take the summer off, and the summer off was all because the kids had to go out into the fields and work on the farms back when schools first started. Do we think we might want to change that model a little bit?
I think that's a really good question, probably up there with daylight savings. I mean, isn't that supposed to be a similar issue?
Yes. Well, mine's greater than mine will have to deal with that issue. So, talk to me, Lorian, tell me a little bit about you're curating these books. How can we help? I know Bookalicious is a great way to help parents curate books, but what kind of things can parents do to, help their kids find books that they're going to fall in love with?
That's a really good question. And honestly, I think there are many different things that parents can do. And they start with just simple ones, like having a conversation with your kids, asking them, just generally what they like, what they're interested in. And of course, as kids get older, sometimes those conversations become less welcomed by the child, right? We've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
And so on our site, we have something called a Bookmoji, which is basically a little avatar that the kids can get on and, kind of style their like pets and different hobbies and things that they can add to it. And that's a great way to have a conversation with the child while they're doing something else to kind of distract them. But, oh, okay, you picked a dinosaur. Oh, cool. I didn't know you were into that hobby now or whatever. So just kind of learning what they're interested in and then supporting that no matter what it is, because really they can read anything. They can read a cereal box. They can read a magazine. As long as they're reading, that is going to help, kind of prevent that summer slide. And so just showing up without judgment and encouraging them, I think, is great.
Yeah, I think Leanne, you and I spoke a little bit about that whole idea of not judging, um, and helping the kids and supporting the kids in their choices. Um, go a little bit more into the Bookalicious model and how your emoji guy there, that little avatar that the kids create, helps you folks decide what kind of books to suggest.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So our bookmojis, that's what we call them, are avatars. And you get to dress them up. You can make them look like you, but they don't have to. And you can accessorize them. So you get to choose things like, clothing, costumes. You can add pets, accessories like sporting equipment or musical instruments. All of it is intended to reflect kind of who you are and what you like. And then we match your interests with great books. And those books pop up on a little bookshelf that's just for you.
So we're assuming if a kid creates an avatar and it looks like them and they decide, well, I want to get a hockey stick and maybe a graphic novel and some drawing paper, that lets your algorithm know that this kid likes hockey, is into sports, and all that other great stuff.
Exactly. And because we're not just an algorithm, because we have this wonderful team of curators that Lorian leads, most of whom are also teachers and librarians, we do our best to have the very best books. So in that case, the very best book about a hockey player or an artist that will pop up, because our goal is to engage kids. And there's a lot of research out there that says that books that kids choose themselves and books that they're highly, highly interested in are going to be the ones that they read.
Mm-hmm. Lorian, I remember one of the things I used to love to do is to go to, when they were open, go down to Borders or B. Dalton or Barnes and Noble, go through the go through the bookshelves and just be surrounded by books. But there would be times in my life when I would want to find a book, but I would be overwhelmed just going in there, and it's like, there's so many choices here. And I imagine a little kid who might have like a lot of extra energy and may go in there and experience the same thing. How do you help that kid kind of better make a choice or be less overwhelmed?
That's a great question. And I too was one of those children who both loved the bookstore, loved the library. And sometimes it was a little bit much. I didn't know, because I was into so many things, I didn't know where to go and where to start. So actually the Bookmoji is one of the ways that we help kids, because as you're building the Bookmoji, you are getting book recommendations on your shelf. So, we see that you like soccer. Here is a soccer book that you might like. It's one of our favorites. So kids can actually just check out that book, and maybe they like it. Maybe they want to start there, but maybe they've already read that book. So then they can go to the soccer vertical on the site, and then they can see all the books about soccer, and might find some new favorites there. Oftentimes kids also have a certain title in mind. Mm-hmm. Everyone loves Dogman and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and so they might be able to they want to go in there and type that into the search engine, and then see what else comes up. So there are lots of different ways that they can kind of start, which I think is the hardest part.
So is it like what I see in some shopping sites, where if a kid likes Dogman and he pulls that up, you say, hey, if you like Dogman, you might also like these books over here.
Exactly. Yeah. So when they're looking at Dogman, it'll say, hey, Dogman, you might like books about dogs. You might like books about humor. You might like books about superheroes. And there are going to be links that they can click, and it will take them to all of those locations.
Yeah. Hey, Leanne, remind me, because this is really fascinating. Just the science and the technology behind it. Where did the idea come from to create this website with a really cool name like Bookalicious and have the avatar and all that fun kind of stuff happening?
Well, among other things, and thank you for the shout out, even if it was unintentional. Borders books back in the day. Remember Borders?
I do.
Borders was founded by my husband and brother-in-law right out of college. And one of the really cool things that they did was they had folks that worked for them who kind of owned the different departments within the store. So they were like specialists. And so the part of the idea around the curation, what Lorien's describing, comes from the idea of having someone who has looked at and has a really good feel for all the great animal books that are out there, or all the great action and adventure books, or all of the books that are about humor, because kids can be drawn to a book, like Lorien mentioned Dog Man. Kids love Dog Man so much, but they may be drawn to it for different reasons. Maybe they love it because it's a superhero book, but maybe they love it because it's funny, or maybe they love it because it's about dogs. And so we're able to help kind of guide them to the best books that are out there that meet their interests. And then the other thing I'd say, and this also, I really owe this to the Borders legacy, when that company was alive and thriving, one of the cool things that they did is they created this amazing system that allowed them to customize the books in the store to the community where they were located. And so we thought, what a cool idea if we could actually take that one step further. You know, technology has evolved, and personalized recommendations for each individual reader. And so that's what we're essentially doing. We're getting that Bookmoji built, and then we're making recommendations that match what that child is really interested in.
Awesome. So, Lorien, with the curation, does it also kind of get into that local stuff? If you know that a kid is from Boston, maybe you bring up Jason Tatum's book as a suggestion?
I'm taking notes, and I think this is going to be like maybe 2.0. Leanne and I will talk about this after. But yeah, I think that is the vision, right? We do want to create a very personalized experience where kids really feel seen, and they can kind of explore. Because it's hard to start. It's hard to know. There are so many books out there. I mean, we have a team of educators who've been doing this for a long time. And, for one child to know all of the books is impossible. So, it's definitely, it's on our list.
Yeah. I imagine too, it might be really exciting for a kid, who loves a certain author to discover, there's all these other books by this author. This is wonderful.
Yeah, always. And sometimes, it's even as simple as, I love all these books by this author. Oh, guess what? There's also a graphic novel adaptation, and I'd love to read that too. Or even, I had no idea they wrote this amazing series about cats, and now there's one about hamsters. I'm going to have to read that. So it's really it's a fun way. We start kids with specific recommendations, but as Lorien said, we want them to explore beyond those. We want them to kind of, dive in deeper, and they're learning real skills because they're learning how to browse and search, as well as becoming more discriminating. And that's what's going to bring them to those books that they're really excited about.
Yeah. Lorien, this might sound like a crazy question. I apologize. But you hear so much in social media, on the news these days, that, these folks are pushing people this way. They're pushing an agenda this way. We don't have to sit down and worry that, the Bookalicious is going to turn my kid into a red team or a blue team or whatever team.
No, that's not at all what we're about. We want to make sure that everyone is represented on our site. And so all of the books are there, and we just allow children to kind of find their own favorites.
Yeah. And Leanne, privacy wise, we also hear a lot about, I just heard that, Instagram or Facebook is going to come up with some kind of AI where a 13-year-old who's lonely can have an AI best friend, which I think is horrific. You have ways of protecting kids' privacy?
Lots of ways. For starters, there's the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, and we're fully compliant with that. We just use the information to create better book recommendations. You know, the comment that you made about Jason Tatum, we learn from the kids what they like. We had last year this term, the search term that kept popping up. It was CR7, and it was yielding no search results for kids because we didn't know what it meant. It turned out that CR7 meant Cristiano Ronaldo, who's number 7, great soccer player. And so it was just so interesting. So lots of kids were looking for books about Cristiano Ronaldo, and we didn't know it until we figured that out. And then we were able to make those books more prominent, have more books on the site. So we also, which is actually a really fun thing, kids can do at home or they can do it at school. They can write book reviews on our site that other kids can share. But we do that in a fully moderated way, meaning that we look at the reviews before they go on the site. We don't correct things like grammar or spelling, but we do make sure that there's no personally identifiable information, that there's no profanity, that there's, nothing that be construed as bullying, because we want it to be a really positive, safe environment for kids.
Mm-hmm. So very important. So let's get to some book recommendations, shall we? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Reading this summer.
So first of all, I have to say I loved Lorian's comment about reading the cereal box. However, it is summer, and while we don't want kids to learn, to lose the learning that they've gained over the school year, we also want them to have fun and enjoy the summer. So what we've done is we've come up with a bunch of books that we think are really fun and entertaining, and will be enjoyed by lots of kids at different age ranges during the summer. So we thought we'd start with some picture books. And the first one I'll start it off with is a book called Don't Trust Fish. It's written by Neil Sharpson with awesome illustrations by Dan Santat. This book just came out. It is hilarious, especially if you like your picture books with a side of sarcasm that both parents and kids will find entertaining. So if your kids like fish, they like the beach, if they like the ocean, and if they like funny stories, they'll love the book. It's a perfect read aloud, and it's recommended for kids age 4 to 7.
We had the author on who told us all about how it was written during the pandemic to entertain his kids.
Yeah, and it really, I think it's hilarious, and the illustrations just take it to the next level. So it's a really fun book, a kid pleaser and a parent pleaser. And the other picture book that personally is one of my favorites is Cranky Crabby Crow Saves the World. It's written and adorably illustrated by Corey Tabor. This is another funny picture book. Crow is cranky and crabby, our protagonist Crow, and he keeps telling his friends he doesn't have time to play with them. So why, you ask? Maybe it's because Crow is busy saving the world. Cranky Crabby Crow is perfect for kids who like reading about birds, about superheroes, about friendship, and about outer space. It's another great read aloud, recommended for kids aged 4 to 7.
Cool.
And Lorian, I think you probably had a couple picture books on there too, right?
I do, yeah. So one of my favorite things about summer is fireworks. I just love like big fireworks displays as a kid. And there is a new picture book out called Fireworks. It's by Matthew Burgess. It's got beautiful like watercolor illustrations that are done by Katya Chen. I think it kind of captures just like the magic of summer in your childhood. I really enjoy it. It's fantastic. If another good read aloud. It's wonderful for kids who like summer, who like books, kind of about everyday life in a neighborhood and community, and also for kids who like books about holidays. The second book that I have is because I want to, we all, especially as adults who like children's books, we all love the narrative. But a lot of kids want more like nonfiction. They want to be able to kind of browse through the book and read a page and then kind of come back later. There is a nonfiction book out right now by Aaron Silver called Plant Attack, which is fantastic. It's all about how plants protect themselves. They have, there's a page on roses and, thorns. There are familiar plants, poison ivy, that I think kids will really kind of be familiar with and want to learn more about. There are also some really unique plants that I had never heard of, like glow-in-the-dark mushrooms and corpse flower. So these are all really cool. And I think it's perfect for summer just because, kids are now getting out and about. And so lots of fun facts in there. And it's really good for kids who are into, like I said, that nonfiction kind of browsable reading. Also, if they're into science and nature or specifically plants and flowers.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Do we have any recommendations for our middle grade readers?
We do for those kids in upper elementary and even middle school. One that I love so much is The First State of Being. That is Aaron Entrada Kelly's amazing book that deservedly won the Newbery Medal this year. It's about 12-year-old Michael and his friend / babysitter Gibby. They meet a boy named Ridge, a semi-accidental teenaged time traveler who has arrived from the future and isn't exactly sure how to get back.
I love that. I used to love those really kind of funny, weird shows back in the day, like Night Gallery and The Outer Limits and all that, right up my alley.
Well, this one is perfect for kids like it sounds like you were or maybe are. I mean, I love this book. I bet you would really enjoy it too. It also has some more serious themes around anxiety. And what's interesting about the twist on this, the anxiety is centered to worries around a potential global catastrophe called Y2K. Do you remember Y2K, Jed?
I do. I was performing New Year's Eve, and I had a bunch of performances, and I went back to my hotel, and I was like, am I going to be able to get in with this electronic card into my hotel?
Oh my gosh.
And I was ready. I had a sleeping bag in the car if I couldn't get in.
Yeah. Well, people were really worried, right? January 1, 2000 would pop up and all of the computers would go haywire because they weren't programmed to anticipate the year 2000. So it's a theme. It's really kind of a funny throwback, but a great characterization, and it's perfect for kids. I say like ages 8 to 12.
All right. Boy, that's almost embarrassing how worried we were about that.
Right? I know. It's so funny to look back. My gosh, it's crazy to think that was 25 years ago, but people were so concerned. Yep. And, but luckily, I mean, I think most companies just, upgraded their software. So everything was fine.
Everything was cool. So. Yes, indeed. Lauren, do you have any middle grade picks?
I do. So, I love illustrated novels. I'm a big fan of, like Jason Reynolds, and my new favorite right now is J versus K by Kwame Alexander and Jerry Craft. It's also for ages 8 to 12. This book is super fun. Like, I mean, they're hilarious. And it's basically these two kids are in a rivalry, against each other. Jerry, J, and Kwame, K. But the authors are also in a rivalry in the book, and they break the fourth wall a lot. So the reader is really in on it. What I like in addition is that there's all of this kind of, vocabulary woven in. There are like these extra tasks that the reader is encouraged to do beyond just reading the book, that, even though you're having so much fun and you're reading, you're actually learning a lot and building your vocabulary to kind of, it's perfect to prevent that summer slide. It's really good for kids who like art, who are into books about friendship. And of course, if you like to giggle, this is a great one.
That's great. I love it. Leanne, we were worried earlier on if there was enough information to fill. We've only spent 30 minutes here.
Oh my gosh.
The time flies when we're having fun. You were saying before we started recording that you have a special treat for our Reading with Your Kids listeners.
I do. And if we don't have time for any more recs, we can certainly...
Oh, we'll go back to the recs. We'll go back to...
Amazing. Okay. Well, what we thought we'd do is offer a special discount code, if that's okay with you, for your listeners. And the code is RWYK. So Reading with Your Kids, RWYK Summer. Okay. And that means 15% off plus free shipping for your listeners.
Well, I love that. Thank you very much. So RWYK Summer to get 15% off and free shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Now that I'm almost 100, I get a lot of like those older people perks like free shipping. I just did that the other day at the bank. It was cool. So what other recommendations do we have?
All right. Well, we just have two more categories. And by the way, you look amazing for 100. I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you. It's the lighting.
So, yeah, good lighting. That's what you need, right? Good lighting. So we thought it was only fair, and you mentioned these earlier, to bring a few great graphic novel suggestions in. They're so popular and they're really fun. I have two fun ones to recommend. The first one is called Gabby Torres Gets a Billion Followers. It's written by and illustrated by Angela Dominguez. So Gabby is a 9-year-old with a very creative inner voice. She imagines all the wonderful things that she can do to dazzle her friends, her family, and her peer group, all of whom belong to a group called the Sea Musketeers. It's a volunteer group dedicated to protecting oceans and beaches. And Gabby, well, I'll let you figure out if she actually gets a billion followers, but the book is perfect for kids who like stories about friendship told with humor. And it's recommended for kids, ages 6 to 9. Mm-hmm. And the other graphic novel, another one of my favorites, which is by the amazing Pumphrey brothers, Jarrett and Jerome Pumphrey, is Link and Hud, Sharks and Minnows. This book comes out on July 1st, and it's about Link and Hud, who are two brothers. Like Gabby Torres, they also have very active imaginations. They're on summer vacation at the ocean. It gets cut short, but that turns out not to be the end of their aquatic adventures. They create their own neighborhood swim team, except that their team engages in events like deep sea treasure hunting and supersonic water walking. And it's for ages 8 to 12.
Awesome. I love it. Lauren, did you have another category?
Well, I do, but I also wanted to slip in my own graphic novel. It's called Way Off Track, and it's by Carl Brundtland. It's also for ages 8 to 12. It's about a 7th grader named Nancy who dreams of becoming a track superstar. But she has got really two things in her way. Her arch nemesis and the very expensive pair of shoes that she's convinced will help her beat her nemesis. She goes through all sorts of very creative things, trying to get these shoes. Ultimately, she learns that honesty and hard work are her most powerful weapons. I'll just leave it at that. It's really a fantastic book for kids who like books about sports. If you have, a little runner in your family, and it's also really funny. So again, anyone who's in for a good laugh, this is a great one.
Excellent. And what was that other category that we're going to look at?
Do we have time? If we do,
I'm the boss. We have as much time as we need.
Amazing. Well, I mean, if you're 100, I thought maybe you
I
need
need to go to bed. No.
Okay, well, the last one we have, just because Lorraine and I love this category so much, is novels in verse. These are perfect for the older, older end of the age spectrum for kids. And one thing I do want to say is that novels in verse often tackle serious themes. And the book that I am just obsessed with right now, and I'm going to talk about, is called The Trouble with Heroes. And this book does this extremely well. The main character is struggling with the loss of his father and understanding the lasting ramifications of 9/11 and the COVID pandemic. So it's got some very serious themes, but it's done beautifully. The Trouble with Heroes is by Kate Mester, and it's about the main character named Finn, who is a rising 8th grader. Well, at least he's rising as long as he can make up the work he didn't finish in 7th grade and avoid failing and having to repeat a grade. He is sad and angry that his dad, who was a heroic firefighter, died a couple of years previously. And Finn gets caught in a cemetery kicking over a headstone that turns out to have belonged, or I guess you could say belongs, although the person is no longer with us, to a woman who is a legendary local mountain climber. So Finn needs to make reparations, and what that turns out to be is climbing all 46 Adirondack high peaks in a single summer, which he has to do in the company of the dead mountain climber's dog, Seymour. The book, The Trouble with Heroes, is beautiful. It's interesting. It's creative. It's sensitive. It's funny. And it's perfect for kids who enjoy stories about hiking, about outdoor adventures and dogs and family. And there's also a lot of baking cookies. So it's a great book for kids. Pretty much like 9 to 14 would be the recommendation.
Yeah, we had Kate on to celebrate that book, and I shared with her that I got lost for a day on one of those Adirondack peaks when I was 12, and thankfully I found my way back after about 6 hours on the mountain.
Wow, only 12 and you were lost? That must have been so scary.
I was with my dog ran into the forest, and I went after her, and when we finally got back together, I looked around and I said, "We ain't in Kansas anymore, dog."
Oh my gosh.
And so we kind of searched around, and I think we probably walked in circles. The funny thing, Leanne, at least it's funny now that I look back on it, I heard what I thought was a river, and I thought, well, we'll go down, find the river, and follow that. I'll know I'm not going in circles. Turned out it was a highway, even better. And shortly after we found it, a state trooper pulled up and said, "Hey, are you the kid from Boston we've been looking for?" And I go, "Well, I'm from Boston. I've been lost." And he said, "Get in." And me and the dog got in. And he goes, "Oh, man, you guys stink. Get out." It's just a mile down the street.
He seriously kicked you out?
We smelled. We got back. My mom's going, "Oh, man."
Oh my gosh. But at least it was a happy ending. I mean, I'm sure some of those stories don't end so happily. So
Exactly. So, Lorian, you have one more?
I do. So this is another sport book. It's called It's All or Nothing Vale. It's by Andrea Beatriz Arango, and it's also for ages 10 to 14. What I like about this book, it's a book about fencing, but at the center, it's really a book where, the story is asking, who am I? And I think that's something that we can all relate to, and especially in middle school, right? We're all trying to figure out ourselves at that age. And so it really takes the reader through the character's kind of development. She has had an accident. She's dealing with chronic pain now and kind of a permanent injury. And it's changed her relationship to the sport that she used to love. And so she's kind of trying to figure out, who am I now, in relationship to her disability, in relationship to her sport. There's also a little crush in there. I don't want to give too much away. But this is a great book if you like books about sports, if you're interested in fencing, which I feel like there have been quite a few books in the past couple of years about that topic. It's a really fun read for a lot of ages.
Yeah. I love it. Leanne, would you agree with me if I suggested that one great way the parents can help their kids avoid the summer slide is if our kids see us reading?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, that we have to model that. Leanne, remind everybody where they can go to find all these books and start making their avatar.
That would be amazing. Thank you. Everyone go to bookalicious.com. It's like book plus delicious, BOOKELICIOUS.com. And I should say it's free to use our site. And of course, we would love, love, love for you to buy books from us. But I also want to let you know that there's a find a book feature where you can borrow that book from the nearest public library too. So we want you guys to be reading over the summer.
Excellent. And so this person can go on there, create their avatar, and just find a book. There's no obligation to buy anything. It's not like Costco. You got to pay to be a member and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can buy a book or you can borrow a book. They're on every book detail page. So, you get your little bookshelf that has the books that are the ones that we recommend. You can search around. Every book has a book detail page. And on that page, you can click buy if you want to buy, but you can also click borrow. And if you put in your zip code, it'll tell you the nearest public library that has that book.
What a cool thing. And if people use the promo code RWYK Summer, they get 15% off and free shipping.
That's right.
Leanne's going to get in her car, drive from California, bring the book right to your house. Probably not.
Actually, I'm going to have Lauren do that.
Okay. We've had a great time speaking to two amazing women, the CEO, the driving force behind Bookalicious, Leanne Borders, and the chief curator over at Bookalicious, Lorian Hunter. My friends, thank you so very much for being part of Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Join us right now from beautiful South Carolina. Our guest is here today to celebrate his new picture book. It's called Take Me Back to Oklahoma. Please welcome to the show, Cody Burke. Hey, Cody, how are you?
I'm so good, Jed. Thank you so much for having me.
Delighted to have you on. I had the pleasure of being in Oklahoma once, spent one night there, and it was on my way from Boston to California. But it was a really fun experience. I walked into a Holiday Inn Express somewhere between Tulsa and Oklahoma City, I think, and the clerk at the desk checking in said, "Have you ever been to this property before?" And I said, "No, in fact, I've never been to Oklahoma before." At that point, his mild-mannered personality disappeared, and he said, "Well, golly, welcome to Oklahoma."
I believe it. I think Oklahoma, we have some of the best people in the world, especially in terms of hospitality. And I live in the South now. I don't consider Oklahoma the South, but I live in the Carolinas. And you always hear about Southern hospitality, but I think Midwestern and Oklahoman hospitality trumps it.
Okay, well, before we jump in to Take Me Back to Oklahoma, the question has to be asked since you brought it up. If you love Oklahoma so much, what in the world are you doing in South Carolina?
That's a great question. So I'm the last of 6 kids, And my parents encouraged me and my siblings to go out of state for college. And so I didn't even apply anywhere in state for college, just to see the rest of the world. I went to undergrad in North Carolina, and then I found myself starting my career in South Carolina. But I go back to Oklahoma a lot. But that transition for myself inspired this book, because growing up, I didn't think Oklahoma was a very cool or very special place to live. And it wasn't until leaving and living somewhere else that I realized how unique and special of a place that I was lucky to grow up in. So I wouldn't love Oklahoma as much if I hadn't have moved away.
So let's talk about it. Who are we going to meet and take me back to Oklahoma?
So we are going to meet a young boy and his family who, the boy's name is Thomas, but he's really, based off of me as a child. And, his parents are based off of my parents. And it's, him taking a journey, through other parts of the country, after so desperately wanting to get out of Oklahoma. It begins with, get me out of here. And he travels to, a big city, he travels to a sandy beach and, huge mountains. And it's these experiences there make him appreciate all of the things that he has in Oklahoma.
So tell me like I said, I had a lovely time when I was in Oklahoma. I didn't really see much except for the interstate and the Holiday Inn Express, which looks like every other Holiday Inn Express in the world. But tell me about Oklahoma. Why is it so special to you?
Great question. So, Oklahoma has a really rich history. We have a unique history in how our state was founded and how our state was populated. We have some unfortunate things like the Trail of Tears that helped populate Oklahoma. But we have cool things like the Land Run. When I moved out to the Carolinas and I would celebrate Land Run Day, my friends would laugh at me because they didn't know what that was. But in Oklahoma, every year we would celebrate this in elementary school. In order to get settlers to go across the state, they set up rope all around the state and said, hey, when we shoot this gun, if you can get to a plot of land before someone else and stake it, we'll just give it to you. It's yours to start a family. And so if you follow college sports at all, the University of Oklahoma, they're the Boomer Sooners. Mm-hmm. The Boomers are those who ran at the gun, and the Sooners are the one who went beforehand. And so we just have unique histories like this. We have such a deep connection with music. So all the country music stars that we know, a lot of them are from Oklahoma. We have incredible food in Oklahoma. While we do have bad things like our tornadoes, the resilience that our communities show afterwards is like nothing I've ever seen. It's just a special place and with special people.
Well, it sounds like you have a real deep love of your home state. Tell me, you mentioned food. Tell me, what's your favorite Oklahoman food?
I grew up eating muscadine jam that my grandma made that was passed down by her. Biscuits and jam, I know that's a common food, but I've never had as good outside of Oklahoma.
Okay. Say the name of it, Muscaham?
Muscadine.
Muscadine. It sounds like a prehistoric animal.
It does. It's like a grape, but with a harder skin. A lot of people peel off the skin, but my grandma would just use it in her jam anyways. And they're like almost perfectly spherical and a little bit bigger than a grape, but they make the greatest tasting jam.
Now, I understand that there's a big rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas. Am I right about that?
Oh, yes. I can't ever say I love Texas, but especially in sports, there's the huge rivalry, the Red River rivalry, because we're split by the Red River. Mm-hmm. And my parents say that my first words were Texas sucks, but I had a lisp growing up, so it was Texas sucks. They said that was my first words.
Send all of your angry emails to Cody, not to me. I can. So I'm imagining that this would be a great book, not only to introduce kids to Oklahoma, and also be a great book for kids from Oklahoma to kind of sit down and read about. But I'm imagining that this would be a great book for a family to sit down and just read and then talk about the things in their lives that they're thankful for. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I did write it as a love letter to Oklahoma. you could replace Oklahoma with anything or anywhere to really talk about it.
How did you write? Is this book in a rhyming format, or is it prose?
No, it's not a rhyming format. It's a very traditional children's book with not very many words per page, which was tough for me because I love to write a lot. I'm an English teacher in my day job, so I love writing essays, reading essays. I had to be very particular with the specific words I used in this book because I didn't have so many. So I spent a lot of time choosing very carefully which words would go on each page to get what I wanted to get across in only a few hundred words.
Yeah. Was that surprising to you that you were limited to, say, 500-600 words to tell your story?
I gave that challenge to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it to be a book that was accessible for children, but it was a tougher of a challenge than I expected it to be.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioning that you're an English teacher. What grade do you teach?
I teach 8th grade English and high school percussion. I have a very lucky job, and I get to go back and forth between the two throughout my day.
Excellent. Percussion and my percussion. I was in middle school. I had the best music teacher in the world. She was a percussionist for Boston Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't very good at reading music. Well, I was fine with reading music. I wasn't very good with staying in the parameters of the written music. I like to improvise. And my music teacher really encouraged that. And it was a blast. We had an all-town band, and I remember kind of feeling, the other percussionists in this bigger all-town orchestra would kind of make fun of me, and kind of because I wouldn't always follow the sheet music. And then we played a pop song, and at that point, my teacher, who was our orchestra leader, just said, "Jed, you're on drums. Everybody else sit back, hold the cymbal for him, and just let me go at it." And it was a lot of fun. Gave me a lot of confidence.
That's really cool. That's really special.
Yeah.
One of the parts I write in my book about what makes Oklahoma so special is the music part. And so music is very important to me, and I am very blessed to get to teach it.
Yeah. Do you play out any? Do you play in a band?
I do not play in a band. I call myself more of a percussionist than a drummer. While I do play drum set, I love all of the instruments just as equally. I do, though, I accompany some local, all honor choirs and honor orchestras on drum set. But mainly I teach.
Yeah, yeah. Music is it was really fun for me, but I understand there's, just like sports, there's lots of benefits for kids who take up and play an instrument. Can you talk about some of those benefits?
Absolutely. That's very true in my family. My parents made me choose a sport and an instrument and play them all the way through, and I want to follow that along with my kids. I chose tennis and percussion, but the benefits of music is it's one of the greatest ways to tie both parts of the brain together. So we have our analytical side and our more creative, artistic side. But music, you have to do both of those. You have to make sure you know the fingerings for your instrument and be able to read the music, but you also are creating something beautiful and have to take creative chances with that. It also teaches kids discipline. So I teach with the marching band. I teach the drum line. That is kids come out of that very disciplined because you have to be one cog in a giant machine. Same way in an orchestra or a choir, you're a small part of something greater. And so I think the discipline aspects of that are just the greatest. And music's something it's like riding a bicycle. If you don't practice, you'll decline in your skill, but you'll never forget how to do something.
I agree. I still to this day remember the drum solo that I learned in 4th grade. And that is many decades ago. Music is we've talked here on the show with a couple of recording artists who have severe stutters. But when they're on stage and they're singing, there is not a stutter at all. It's really incredible. And I've related this story on the podcast before. My my mom, when she was nearing the end of her life and suffering from dementia and didn't know who I was or my kids were, but if she heard a song from her teenage years, she would remember those lyrics and belt them out.
That's really special. I have some students who I know them personally, and they have confidence issues or they're just not very outgoing, but watching them perform, you'd think they were the most outgoing, confident kid you'd ever met.
Yeah.
So
I'm interested. You said you taught 8th grade English. Why did you choose to write a picture book as opposed to, say, a middle grade novel?
That's a great question. I do have aspirations to write. I want to write something of everything. I'd love to write a play, a middle grade novel, an adult novel. This kid's book felt right for this story because I remember as a kid having these feelings, and I wished someone would have shown me what it was like to appreciate my hometown and my home state when I was that age, so I didn't have to do it later. Because I remember as a teenager so desperately wanting to move away. So I wish teenage me would have appreciated it more and seen some of the other parts of Oklahoma that I hadn't seen at that part.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a favorite part of Oklahoma?
I would have to say Oklahoma City because that's where I grew up. I love Oklahoma City, but my dad's family is from Broken Bow, which is at the southeast of the state, and there's a park called Beavers Bend State Park. It's one of the most beautiful places in the country. And since I've moved away, it's really boomed, and people camp there, hike, stay in cabins. But it is just so beautiful, and I do have amazing memories of there as a kid. So I'll say Beavers Bend State Park in the southeast.
Do you have any plans to return to Oklahoma and do some school visits where you're sharing and reading your book?
Yes, in July, I'm coming back for a few book signings, and then I would love during the school year, when the times were aligned, I would love to come read my book in classrooms. My father is an author, and he has had the opportunity to do that, and so I would love to do that along with him.
Awesome. Well, we should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Take Me Back to Oklahoma and find out more about you.
Absolutely. You can go to the Yorkshire Publishing website, which is where the book is being published through. The book is available on Amazon for pre-order now, but will be out in a few weeks. And my social media is at Okie Dokie, Okie because I'm in Oklahoma, and Dokie, it's just the scrambling of my name, at Okie Dokie, OKIEDOCY on Instagram.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of the brand new picture book. It's called Take Me Back to Oklahoma. Our guest has been Cody Burke. Cody, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you so much, Dad. Have a great one.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. In the meantime, I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guests, Lee Ann Borders and Lorian Hunter. Please be sure to check out the Bookalicious website. And remember, if you use the promo code RWYKSummer, you will get a 15% discount plus free shipping. Also want to thank Cody Burke. Please be sure to check out his picture book, Take Me Back to Oklahoma. I want to thank my amazing team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady, Stella Sheree. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.